The government is currently holding 48 electronic gadgets belonging to WorldCoin used to capture Kenyans' private data. Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki now says that they intend to carry forensic audit to determine the safety of the data collected in July this year. Kindiki has told the Senate ad hoc committee that WorldCoin was not registered to operate in the country.
We have recorded approximately 26 statements from witnesses and persons of interest. 2, 48 electronic gadgets and WorldCoin operations assorted merchandise or equipments have been recovered or taken to our possession. 3, the orbs and electronic gadgets have been submitted to the Communications Authority and the Cyber Forensic Laboratory, and they are currently undergoing through forensic analysis. And the purpose of this analysis is to establish a number of things, including the exact number of the people of Kenya whose iris was scanned. Number 2, the exact nature of personal data that was captured, the capability of the equipment that was being used, the possible health implications of that process on the health of the people of Kenya who are involved, whether the authorizations that are required under the law to carry out an activity of this nature are being obtained, and eventually to establish whether crimes under the law of Kenya were committed, and if so, prosecute those that would be found culpable. In this process of investigations, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I confirm that all the relevant government agencies are involved and are supporting the investigative process, including but not limited to the Central Bank of Kenya, the Communications Authority, the Office of the Data Protection Commission, the Registrar of Companies, the Capital Markets Authority, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, the Consumer Protection Agency, and also we are collaborating very well with the International Police Organization, Interpol.
Elsewhere, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has issued a stern warning to cabinet secretaries and other top government officials against engaging in corruption. Speaking during a luncheon with the Kenya Editors Guild, EACC Chief Executive Officer Twalib Mbarak noted that 9 former and sitting governors are in court over alleged theft, with 21 of them under investigations. On its side, the Kenya Editors Guild pledged to support EACC on its quest to end corruption in the country.
So we are focusing on county governments, and we have realized that there are governors in counties where they have encouraged corruption to thrive, which include fictitious pending bills, where they don't have some invoices, procurement of processes. They're trying to be very smart. They're avoiding conflict of interest. So they use their friends to form companies, and they give them contracts. And then employment irregularities.
We also encourage media houses and media organizations to establish and adhere to strong ethical guidelines. Journalists should be held to high standards of accuracy, fairness, and integrity in their reporting on corruption. In conclusion, supporting journalists in the fight against corruption is not just a matter of freedom of press. It's an investment in transparency, accountability, and the future of Kenya. By addressing the challenges journalists face and providing them with necessary resources and protection, we can collectively work towards a more transparent and corruption-free society.
In a bid to support President William Ruto's bottom-up agenda, the Ministry of Education has approved the recognition of the prior learning policy set to recognize skilled workers who lack academic certificates. The initiative will benefit thousands who are currently struggling to secure jobs. Speaking in Naivasha, the acting director of the Kenya National Qualification Authority, Dr. Alice Kande, noted that the program will enable the beneficiaries secure government jobs and contracts.
For a long time, we have not had this kind of a program. And as we appreciate the formal education and training, we also realize that there are those who might have been forgotten because either they dropped out of the formal education and training and they got probably into the industry. And they have been doing so well in that context. And while they have been doing so well, they have not had a formal certification of that skill. And so a highlight of this policy is that now we have a provision to acknowledge that context. So we are saying that we are appreciating that learning is happening anywhere, every time. So we are appreciating formal, non-formal, and informal way of acquisition of learning. We're appreciating that it is opening doors to so many that have been probably denied opportunities because they did not have a certificate to show of it, yet they have a skill, a competence that they have. And we are also cognizant of the focus of the current government. We are keen on the key areas and specifically looking at the manufacturing sector. We're looking at construction, for instance. We're looking at a lot that is happening in the industry. And we're seeing so many people who are very good and fine in what they are doing. Talk about plumbing, talk about those small and minute skills that people are really able to do. So how is it that we can enable them, even if it is recognizing as a micro unit, but we recognize it as something that can actually enable someone to grow.
The aim is to have it done so that these people at the pyramid can come out, be assessed, and they are given certificates. Those certificates will improve their livelihood. They can now compete for government tenders. They can even seek employment outside the country. They can also start their companies. And that's why we are here. We have done a review to address the issue of the bottom-up economy. We also have many changes globally. The world is changing a lot. Now they want very small qualifications. The world doesn't want people who spend 4 years in school. They just want me to spend even 1 month and I come up with one single skill that will give me a job.
Now, Kakamega County has issued a stern warning to miners in Ikolomani ahead of the El Nino rains. Kakamega CEC for Environment, Water and Natural Resources, Penina Mukabane, has stated that it will be risky for miners, urging them to vacate the area immediately as the area has started experiencing frequent rains. Penina, however, said the government has put in place strategies in case of any disaster and eventually that may rise from the rains. Now, Mukabane also urged locals to utilize the rains by harvesting rainwater for future use and support tree planting to align with the president's goal of planting 15 billion trees in 10 years.
We are still mapping out the hotspots, but from previous experience, Mumias West kuna sehemu ambazo zina border Siaya huwa zinakuwa affected sana. Kwa mfano kule Tenje Ward ilikuwa affected wakati fulani, watu wakawa displaced, watu wakaumia, wakapoteza malazi, vitu za nyumba. Lakini sasa tunajaribu tuwaeleze mapema, and we are preparing also in our committee. We are going to co-opt churches and church leaders so that those ones with those buildings, they can allow some families to enter there if their homes will be affected. So one of the details ni hiyo water harvesting, so that we are able also to take advantage ya hizo mvua nyingi, so that we are able to store. Tuko pia tunafanya desiltation ya dams zetu so that we can collect as much water as possible in the dams, na tutafanya water harvesting kwa mashule zetu za chekechea, kwa polytechnics zetu, kwa mahospitali zetu. Sisi kama county pia tuko na jukumu la kuweza kuchangia katika hiyo 15 billion target ya rais wa hii serikali ya Kenya, na kama county tumejiwekea target ya 2 million per year. So hii 2 million target ya miche, sisi kama wizara ya mazingira tutapanda of course 1 million, alafu ile ingine tutaweza kuongea na wenzetu katika wizara zingine pia in their own effort, in their own way, waweze pia kupanda miche kama tu vile serikali kuu wanafanya. Kila wizara imepewa target ya kupanda miche, na hapa pia county kila wizara itapewa, isipokuwa sisi tutapewa target kubwa, kwa maana it is one of our core mandates ya kutekeleza hiyo kazi. Maana mnahatarisha maisha yenu, na hata wale ambao mna drive, ukipata a pool of water in the middle of the road, don't drive through, because you can easily drown or the vehicle can easily overturn.
All right, so let's take a look at the newspapers and what is making headlines, who and why. So a big shocker that you are likely to experience this morning as a driver, or if you don't have your personal car and you're using the public service vehicle. Well, fuel prices have shot a history high. So the Daily Nation, now petrol hits 210 shillings per litre. High pump prices outside the government's control, says EPRA boss. Pain at the pump. The price of a litre of petrol, diesel or paraffin has crossed the 200 mark for the first time after the energy regulator last night announced new retail prices for the next month. For Kenyans, this means food, electricity, transport and other related costs can only go up. So petrol is at 211 shillings now after increasing by 17 shillings. Diesel is at 200 shillings after increasing by 21 shillings, and kerosene subsequently has had the highest increase by 33 shillings to 202. So what we're looking at is that we are retailing all these fuel products at more than 200 shillings. Petrol at 211, diesel at 200 shillings, kerosene at 202 shillings. And these prices were effective midnight. So if you walk into a petrol station this morning and you want to fuel your car, do not expect to fuel it in the prices that were gazetted for the month of August. You'll be fueling them at these new prices. So it can only mean more pain at the pump. So basically, in other words, what I'm saying is fuel is at the center of everything that we do. If you want to move from one location to another, you have to use fuel. If you need food to come from Bungoma or from Makueni or Machakos or Kajiado to a particular place, talk about Nyeri, you will need fuel. Talk about electricity as well, which is at the center of all these fuel products. So it is also likely to go up. So this will have a ripple effect on so many other products, perhaps services as well, that you're likely to consume beginning today. So pain at the pump as fuel prices cross the record 200 shillings mark, as the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority boss says the fuel prices are beyond government's control. Now, what we're witnessing within former President Uhuru Kenyatta's era is that there was a fuel subsidy in place that was meant to cushion Kenyans from paying high fuel costs. The Kenya Kwanza regime came in. President William Ruto, on the first days he was being inaugurated, said we cannot afford to survive on subsidies. Well, that is what he has been saying basically, and says, we are living beyond our means. Subsidies just have to go, and they were done away with, and that is why ultimately you're looking at the high fuel prices that have been regulated over the months. So high fuel prices will exert more pressure on households already hit by the high taxes and prices of commodities. Now, I look at examples of, different areas. Like I said, in Nairobi, fuel or petrol will retail at 211 shillings, diesel at 200, kerosene at 202 shillings. In Mombasa, petrol will retail at 208, diesel at 198 shillings, and kerosene at 200 shillings. In Nakuru, a litre of petrol will cost 210 shillings. Diesel will cost 200, while kerosene will cost an average of 202 shillings. In areas like Mandera, which are far-flung countries, will witness the highest ever prices. Petrol will be at 226 in Mandera, 215 for diesel, and kerosene will retail at 217 shillings. Now, before last evening's review, the litre of petrol was retailing at 194, diesel was at 179, while kerosene was at 169. So you can see the disparity in prices between kerosene, what was retailing at 169 to what is retailing now. Some areas have had the highest increase. You're purchasing a litre of kerosene at 220 shillings in various areas. So at 8 p.m., EPRA had not released the monthly fuel prices that are in law to be set, announced by the 14th of every month. The subsidy was drawn from the Petroleum Development Levy Fund. In a presentation on Thursday ahead of the release, EPRA Director General Daniel Kipto said the high pump prices were outside the government's control. So it's a question of what can the government control, what can the government not control. So this is likely to spark a lot of uproar from Kenyans as they get this new shock. Also top of the page of the Daily Nation, the cost of political fallout. What a waste when a leader who is of political might or political powerhouse has said, I'm doing a particular program, but then there's political fallout, and then some of these, services or these development plans go to waste. So what a waste. President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza administration is seeking to either reverse, revive, or abandon some of the multi-million shilling projects initiated or halted by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. And Kenyan taxpayers, as always, are set to pick up the tab for this unwarranted wastage. Talk about Huduma number, where President William Ruto's government has done away with the 10 billion shillings project and rolled out a new 1 billion shillings project called Maisha Number. Talk about police uniforms, the fresh proposals for new uniforms and the phasing out of old ones, which Uhuru's government said was at the center of a vicious tender war with a political angle. The Aror and Kimwarer dams, Ruto has announced the revival of the construction of the dam after initially 22 billion shillings was said to be overpriced. The case is still in court. Liwatoni floating bridge, the 824-meter, 1.9 billion project earmarked for demolition. And then as well the Green Park terminus in capital city of Nairobi, where Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has announced plan to abandon the 250 million project seen as legacy undertaken by Uhuru Kenyatta. So Huduma number, police uniforms, Aurora and Kimware dams, Luatoni floating bridge, the Green Park terminus, these were projects already constructed, or at least projects that were already underway, where millions of money were used, taxpayers' money for that matter. So what happens now that the government plans to either abandon, revive, or do or reverse those projects completely? So water waste reads the headline. And then ESCC gets order to freeze 643 million shillings belonging to a junior City Hall employee. Relief as doctors remove needle left in a woman's womb during childbirth. And then Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in Colombia. President William Ruto also jetted out of the country. Musalia Mudavadi is also out of the country. So you guess who is taking the reins in the country right now is the third most powerful person, and that is the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula. To the Standard, the shock of schools' 29 billion shillings debt. Cash-strapped. Learning institutions' operations, including preparation for this year's national exams, could be jeopardized after it was revealed that the government owes secondary schools 29 billion shillings and primary schools nearly half of their capitation, weeks to the start of KCP and KCSE exams. In numbers, 14 billion shillings is owed by secondary schools or to secondary schools by last term. Money owed to the schools for third term, which is currently underway, 15 billion. Money owed to each student by the government stands at 10,469 shillings. So about 1.4 million candidates are set to start the exams, KCPE exams, on October 30th. About 903,000 Kenyan students will sit for their KCSE from November 3rd. And then the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, which is for the CBC, will see 1.2 million pupils. So you can see a whole new batch of candidates, the highest perhaps, if you look at the numbers who are set to sit for their KCPE and KCSE exams, but the government still owes money for capitation, 29 billion shillings to secondary schools, while primary schools, nearly half of their capitation weeks to the start of the KCPE, KCSE examinations. So how do the schools survive, at least for this third term? To whom do children belong? Think again. The High Court declares as unjust and discriminatory a customary notion that children belong to their fathers, ruling that claim was offensive to justice as it discriminated against mothers. I'll take that again. To whom do the children belong to? Think again, says the High Court, as it declares unjust and discriminatory a customary notion that children automatically belong to their father, ruling that the claim was offensive to justice as it discriminated against mothers. Then Ruto at one now groups roast President William Ruto over killings. That is a story that is on page 6. Group roasts President William Ruto over killings. The rights groups claim Ruto ignored promise on extrajudicial killings. So if you do take a look at the number, the period under review is from October 1st of last year, 2022, to August 31st of 2023. Basically, this is the period that the president has been in office. 482 total cases of extrajudicial killings, which are at 128 torture cases, stand at 351. 3 enforced disappearances, 415 male victims, while female victims were 67. And then proposed law to expose Kenya Power IPP deals that was proposed by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna. And then Kenyan stars chase Diamond Glory. That is a sports story that is on page 6. Kenyans chase Diamond Glory in Eugene. Kipyegon Faith, Mary Mora, Ferdinand Omanyala, and Beatrice Chepkoech headline classy lineup at the Prefontaine Classic meet this weekend, which will symbolize the end of the season. And then finally to the Star, Koome, judicial independence is under attack. Judicial independence is under attack. Bottlenecks, the Chief Justice says the Judiciary Fund not operating optimally. One challenge is independent institutions encroaching on area reserved for judiciary. This is not the first time that the CJ has talked about the judicial independence being under attack, but she says the judicial independence is under attack. There's no financial autonomy. And stand your ground. She says under checks and balances, the judiciary can rule on actions by the executive and the parliament. Under checks and balances, the judiciary can rule on actions by the executive and parliament. That was an interview done by the Star. CS Kindiki, the U.S. secured release of WorldCoin owners. The government detained the American citizens behind WorldCoin activities and only released them after the U.S. government intervened. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki told MPs on Thursday, says WorldCoin owners were detained while trying to leave the country, but the U.S. government came to their rescue. Counties delay payments of pending bills. Anti-LGBTQ plus demo planned in Mombasa, as activists also disagree with the Supreme Court ruling that the LGBTQ plus group has the right to association or the freedom of association as stipulated in the country's constitution. So those are your headlines. The Star, Koome judicial independence is under attack. The Standard talks about shock of schools in 29 billion shillings debt. And then the Daily Nation, that big shocker this morning. Now petrol hits 210 shillings per litre. So petrol 211 in Nairobi, diesel 200 shillings in Nairobi. That is what it's retailing at. And then kerosene will retail at 202 shillings per litre. So this is likely to affect each and everything that you will be, using or doing from this particular point onwards. So those are your headlines this Friday morning. All right, so at that point, allow me to take a quick breather, but when we come back, we'll be getting into the conversation of the day, road safety. What are some of the key policies that need to be put up to prevent the injuries on the roads, the deaths that we're witnessing on the roads? I'll be joined on set by Beatrice Kariuki, who is the founder of B Roadwise Association of Kenya. So you can start sending in your feedback. Our SMS line is 23993. Also watch us on Facebook and on YouTube. Leave us a comment, question, thoughts perhaps, and we'll be able to sample your feedback just before the end of the broadcast. So we take that break. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay with us.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world. Through the morning rush and the buzz, find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy Adika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
With great love and joy, I especially welcome you to worship with us at Redeemed Gospel Church Buruburu. This is a true family church, a true spiritual home. Redeemed Gospel Church Buruburu is home to exuberant prayers, deep and true worship. A house of prayer that will leave you feeling refreshed. Our first service starts at 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and our second service starts at 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Wednesdays, we have our midweek service from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and every Friday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. we have our Night of Glory. This is the church you have been looking for. This is the place for your spiritual growth and maturity. See you this Sunday and karibu sana.
Starting this Sunday, the 10th of September, and every other Sunday from 9 p.m., The Christian World Today. A look at what is happening in the Christendom. We look at revivals, controversies, persecutions, and in-depth interviews on issues affecting the church. Every Sunday from 9 p.m., Christian World Today with Frederick Njiri.
If the word of God goes and says, gives you an opportunity to receive Jesus, don't say, I'll think about it. Don't say tomorrow. Do not say next month. Because the times we are living are evil. Because time is short. We are seizing the moment when we are there. And that is the time we are sure of. Bana is what to cause.
In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the Word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV. Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m.
But we should not be afraid to interpret scripture.
Get to know the story behind the Bible. Why was it written? To whom was it written? And what was happening when it was written? Understand, get to know, learn how to properly interpret the scriptures so that you're not deceived.
In the book of Revelation, and we have started to enter into the happenings, because these are things that are going to take place hereafter.
Join Pastor Felix Kevoy and his team as they go through the different books of the Bible and give you the theological interpretation of the same.
At the very introduction of the book of Revelation, the book lays clear what is contained in here.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on The Theology Show, only on EBN, transforming your world.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find the voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy Adika, Rise and Shine Fox. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV. Okay, all right, good morning. So welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Morning Live. Now, before the break, I said we'll be talking about road safety, particularly now that the El Nino rains are almost here with us. And as we know, sometimes the roads can be a bit messy. It's too over-flooded, and you're having drivers who are on these particular roads, long-distance drivers. So how do we ensure that, not just within the El Nino period, but also on a normal day, how do we ensure that we are keeping road safety awareness as well as policies that have been put up on the roads, and we are following them to the key? So that is the conversation this morning, and we'd love to get your feedback on our SMS lines, on Facebook and on YouTube, where this broadcast is currently live. So I'd love to introduce my guest very quickly. Beatrice Kariuki, who is the founder of Be Roadwise Association of Kenya and is currently joining me on set for this conversation. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, for having me.
Yeah. So let's just about get started, but you're a founder of Be Roadwise Association of Kenya. So we'd love to get to know more a bit about this association or organization that you founded and what exactly it does.
Okay, so Be Roadwise Association of Kenya was formed in 2020, and it came about from a need for just training drivers, conductors, and possibly management staff. Because you realize our drivers know how to drive and they drive very well, but there are other things or other human elements that make them unsafe on the drivers, on the roads. So that is what we are trying to address. So since the inception as an association, we've now become accredited by NITA, which we are very excited about. And so we can only move on from here now. Yes. So
what led to the start of the, of the association? Was it something that you, picked as there was a gap in the market? What was happening?
So before the inception of Be Roadwise Association of Kenya, we started a company called Roadwise Association. And Roadwise Association was a company formed to install cameras in vehicles. So from the footages we got, we actually realized, hold on, people are driving well, but there is a gap. And the gap comes in, you realize drivers maybe are getting fatigued, and then maybe they don't know how to do or how to manage it well. Because we always say it's not about the number of hours you sleep, it's about the quality of sleep you get. So it's just things like, just small human elements like that. You realize our drivers are not eating well, so what do you do to mitigate that? So you find that road safety in Kenya is not necessarily about the driving aspect. It is a combination of other factors as well. Yes.
All right, so the National Transport and Safety Authority, which is NTSA, has been at the center of pushing for reforms, in the road sector, particularly the retraining of drivers. And we've seen the response from drivers who said, why are we retraining? We're just, very much okay. So why is it important to retrain these drivers or take these drivers on the matatu touts through training?
Okay, so I think I will answer it in a kind of different way. NTSA, we've actually partnered with NTSA in a number of campaigns with them, and even now they are doing a campaign called Smart Dere, which they are really pushing for that campaign, and it's a good campaign because it is sensitizing drivers. But when we talk about retraining drivers, what are we retraining them on? And I think that is where the conflict was, because our drivers felt maybe we know how to drive, so why are they retraining us on already what is there? But following a study we did actually early this year, it told us our drivers need some sort of education, because when you ask them, do you think road safety education is important? In fact, 99% said it is very important. They need that kind of education. And actually the 1% did not say no. They said we are not sure. So again, when you ask them why are you not sure, because they're like, how will it change me? So again, when you compare 1% to 99%, it tells you there is something they are yearning for. So to me, when we talk about retraining, it is a matter of what are we talking about. So that is why Be Roadwise is trying to address the human factors as opposed to just taking them back to the road and retesting them on driving.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the human factors is involved. Yes, so allow us to take a break, a short one very quickly. But when we come back, you'll be taking us through more about this road safety education. You know, people will think it's just the basics. You know, the rule in Kenya is keep left, do not overturn on sharp bend, but there is something more to it. So when we come back, I'd love you to take us through this road safety education, what it is about, what is involved, as we continue to wait to look forward to your questions, particularly as drivers or pedestrians who use the road. So we'll be back in just a bit. Stay with us.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and the voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy Adika, Rise and Shine Fox. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
Business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the Word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV.
That is the word of the Lord today.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. The conversation continues on road safety, and my guest is still here with me, Beatrice Kariuki, who is the founder of Be Roadwise Association of Kenya, an organization that she founded in 2020 to fill the gap of human needs, particularly for drivers, trainers, motorists, as well as pedestrians. So before the break, Beatrice, you mentioned on road safety education, and it sounds such like a simple word. It's just road safety education. We know them. Don't drink and drive. So what is road safety education? What does it involve largely?
All right. So there are two things. One, there's the road safety education, and then there is road safety sensitization. So sensitization is just what you said, don't drink and drive, be smart on the road, as NTSA is advocating for. You know, do not speed kills. We've had all these messages. Those are sensitization messages. They are there just to, you know, just to trigger your memory. You need to know, you need to adhere to the rule of the traffic, or the rule of the roads. But road safety education goes a step or two further than that. Because when we are talking about education, what do we mean by education? We are trying to formulate courses. We have courses that actually engage the driver. Because again, you will realize most of our drivers are Form 4 leavers. They learned the job on the road from touting to becoming drivers. Then they got the licensing. But from there, what other education have they gotten relating to road safety? So when we say about road safety education, we are just upskilling them. We want to enhance their driving skills. Because again, we should look at road safety as education. I mean, we should look at drivers as a profession. Because these guys drive for 20, 30 years. Someone started at 20, they retire at 50. That's 50. That's 30 years of driving. So I mean, it qualifies to be.
And they do almost 8 hours in a day.
No, they do more than that.
More than that,
They do more than that. So you will find that qualifies to be a profession. And with every profession, you need proper training, you need proper education, you need proper empowerment mechanisms. So that is why Be Roadwise has gone that step further to actually formulate courses. So when we talk about, say, fatigue management, what does that mean? What does it mean for a driver? Because again, in Kenya, you're expected to drive about 12 to 14 hours. But then you still have 10 hours. If you're driving 14 hours, you still have 10 hours of your personal time. What are you doing with that 14 hours? You can choose to go home, have a proper meal, shower, sleep. That way you will manage the fatigue. Again, if you're expected to drive 4 days, most employers will give their drivers days off. So for those 3 days off you have, what are you doing? Even if you're just given 1 day, because PSV will say, oh, we are just given 1 day. With that 1 day, what are you doing with it? So you see, when we talk about fatigue management course, that is what it's really trying to address. It's not telling you go, it's telling you do your work, but also manage your time and your resources well. Yes.
So, you've mentioned different courses. You have the enhancing driver skills. You have the fatigue management as short courses that drivers are taken through as well, to ensure that it's not just about the profession that they're doing, but also their needs also come first. These are human beings, so the emotions are involved. They also have the physicality that comes with driving. So how has the response been like from drivers? Is it something that they take very lightly? Is it something that they take very seriously?
Actually, they will stop and listen. Some of them you'll find they are a bit resistant, but when you tell them, actually, when you throw back the question at them, they will stop and listen. They're like, yeah, madam, there's something you've said there. So I know they are very receptive to the information that you give them. They are very welcoming to it, and they are willing to engage. Yes.
All right. So now let's talk about something also very different, and that comes with, just the policies that have been put up in place. Sometimes it can be a bit too harsh to the drivers. If you listen to what they say, it can be a bit too harsh. I'm talking about, from the National Transport and Safety Authority. The policies that have been put up are a bit too harsh. And they say, NTSA wanatunyanyasa, they are harassing us along the roads, which sometimes can bring out the other side of the drivers, and they want to be a bit reckless on the road. So how have you as an association also been able to, align your policies as an association with those of the NTSA to ensure that, you're not overdoing or just going beyond what the NTSA requires?
Okay. So you'll find NTSA have good policies. Let's start from there. But I think sometimes the way it is communicated across, it comes back as punitive. Yes. Because let's take the recent example. They wanted to retrain drivers. But I think the way it was done and managed, it sounded punitive and it looked punitive. So I think that is where the resistance comes in. Because when you find things like even Smart DL is a good thing. But then again, how does it come across? The charges that they are asked to pay. So I think that is where the problem, and that's where I think it doesn't align. So for us, we engage NTSA a lot, but so that we can understand what is this product they have in the market. Once we understand the product in the market, so even if a driver or an organization calls us, we'll be able now to explain to them, look, Smart DL is good because ABCD, we're able to explain that journey to them. And you will find that they act, but I think once we align the communication, it will be okay. Yeah.
Now, as much as we're also focusing on the drivers and the matatu or conductors, you've also said you also do train management.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, these are people that pedestrians will not normally meet them a lot of times because they deal with the drivers and the matatu conductors. It's just once now, perhaps if there's something that has happened is when we're dealing with the management. So when you talk of training of management, what exactly are we training them on? What is their role in road safety?
In fact, I think the management staff, the fleet management staff, are the people who actually need more training than the drivers. Because one, you will find the way they handle or the way they treat the drivers, sometimes it makes the drivers feel a bit unappreciated, maybe for lack of a better word. So if we train the management staff, they will realize once they empower their drivers, then it's how do I explain it? It's like a three-way triangle. There is the stakeholder or the investor, there is the operations, which is the fleet managers, and there is the operators, which is the drivers, the touts, all that. So you will find if there is a disconnect within this triangle, there is no cohesiveness. So I think the operators, the management staff, hold these two other pillars together. So if we train our management staff, it means that the quality of work goes up. It means that even revenues will go up. Because if you just train them on something so simple, customer care, because again, it starts from the management. If the management does not treat their drivers well, they are shouting at them, how do we expect the drive? It trickles down automatically. So the drivers, of course, he will just drive, he will hit the bumps, he will, just because he's frustrated with his management team. Because again, he does not want to quit his job. That's his daily bread. So again, I think for me, our fleet management staff need the most training even before we start with this, and they will tell you, the drivers will tell you, so you just go and train our managers so that they understand. They also don't understand that driving is a cognitive task. It's not a physical task where you'll take a jembe and dig all day. It is a cognitive task. Your mind is drained. By the end of those 14 hours, you're just tired. But these guys are so used to it, they don't even feel it. So I think the fleet management staff are the guys to look out for. So when we are talking about education, we are looking at those guys. We are looking at the investors, but maybe not so much the investors, but we are looking at the management and then the operators, that cohesiveness.
Are there specific courses that the fleet management, you're likely to take them through? You've talked about fatigue management for drivers. So for management, are we looking at, customer care courses? What sort of courses are we looking at?
We are looking at all the courses we have, but at a managerial level. Because we cannot give, if it's customer care, we cannot give the same customer care content for the operators and the management staff. So our courses cut across board, but it's just the level of the content. What content are we giving to this group and to this group? Yes.
So I'd love us to take a look at some few statistics right here from the NTSA.
Okay.
You know, this is from 2021. If you look at injuries on the roads, we're talking about 4,579 slight injuries, or serious injuries actually, are at 10,000.
Yes.
And then slight injuries at 5,000. So if you look at 2021, we had a total of 22,000 injuries. If you look at 2020, 18,000, 2019, 15,000. So there's sort of a trajectory. The injuries are increasing. So no, you know, fatalities have been put here. But if you look at the injuries, it seems like it's on an upward trajectory. So what is happening? Why the increase of this number of injuries?
I think from 2017, so we are talking about the three categories of injuries. We have slight injuries, just minor, very slight injuries, and just injuries, So it shows there's an upward trajectory. So for me, I would summarize it in two ways. One, the quality of roads, because because from 2017 to today, even if we just look at which road, maybe Outer Ring Road, it has had so much upgrade to it. You know, it has been improved. So it means that the speed goes up because the roads are better. So what does it mean? And who is normally injured anyway? Most likely it's the pedestrian, the boda guys, the cyclist, not really the motorist. Because so if the quality of road has improved, so that means if this guy, if it is a single, it used to be a single lane, it meant that a pedestrian could cross in maybe 2 seconds. But now it's a dual carriageway. So it means that from point A to point B, it's taking them 5 seconds. 5 seconds, your gari may travel for how long? So again, I think it's just the quality of our roads. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying we just need to work a bit more at sensitization. If it's the road, if the roads are being designed, where are the pedestrian crossing? Because again, our roads are urban roads, and they've come when already houses, you know, we've already built infrastructure, and then the road has come in. So it means that we have to really interact with that road and properly. So when we have our road engineers, our road designers, when they are doing it, how are they designing the roads? Are they leaving places for people to cross? So, but like now they are doing very good jobs of creating footbridges. But we as people, are we using them? You know, so I think it's just more of a conversation. So then we'll see the number of injuries going down. But at the moment, if we do nothing about it, it will just keep going up.
I need to also talk about the quality of the vehicles on the road.
Yes.
Because a number of times you'll be in a PSV and you're just looking at the dashboard and it's a whole new story. And you're sitting there wondering, will I get where I'm going safely? Will I get where I'm going safely? Because perhaps the mirrors are broken or he's using one side mirror. So, you know, the quality of the cars also matter on the road.
Yes.
But I'll very much insist on public service vehicles. They don't seem to really have so much keen interest on that. It's just, you know, it's business. I just need the money, you know.
Yes. And I think it goes back to customer service. Because if we care so much about our customer, the dials of those vehicles would be working. You know, we would just not put a bare minimum vehicle that can move from point A to point B.
Even the doors would be working.
Yeah, even the doors would be working. So I think one is about the policies. What are our enforcement teams doing? Because I know NTSA, they've got they've got an it's not called the enforcement, what is it called, the one in Likoni. They've got the inspection center in Likoni. So if the inspection center says this vehicle is okay, so does it mean that we need to raise the standard of the vehicles that are actually being processed out? You know, what does it mean? So I think we need just to pay attention. The enforcement team needs to either raise their standards, not to churn out such kind of vehicles. Because if that vehicle was to crash today, how many lives would it take with it? so many, because it means the seats are not working properly. The vehicle is just mabati itself, because you can see the mabati. You can see the mabati. So even if it was just a simple collision, just a simple head-on collision, it means that your forehead will be hit probably really badly. So you might not die on the road, but again, you will be injured. So again, it goes back to our statistics that the number of injuries are still going up. Maybe just because of the vehicles that we have on our roads. Yes.
All right. Now, let's also talk about a bit different aspects. We have the weatherman, Kenya Met, telling us the El Nino rains will be here with us soon.
Yes.
Perhaps, the heavy rains or short rains have started being witnessed across some various counties, but they say, from October all the way to January, we will have more rains.
Yes.
So as an association, this is it's a new challenge. So how now does it change how you're training these drivers? The rains will be here. You're likely to see a lot of flooding on various roads because, our drainage system, that's a whole different story.
Yes.
Or, the vehicles that need to be on the road need to look a certain way, or the drive. So what does it change in terms of how you're training the drivers to deal with this kind of weather?
So I will answer it in two ways. One, we do safety, because when we talk about our courses, we talk about three pillars: customer care, wellness, and safety. So that comes under safety. So how do you make sure your vehicle is ready and safe for because El Nino is just extended rainy season. So it means that, so we just try and address, how are you prepared for the rainy season? What have you got in your vehicle to make it prepared for that kind of season? So that is covered under safety. But then again, we will, especially November, December time, we will run sensitization campaigns as well, because you'll find that our number of incidents escalate at that time because of the rush. Children closing school, people traveling, all that. So again, during that time, we will run sensitization campaigns. Just put your lights on, plan your journey, because again, you'll find if it's raining, the chances of you being late are very high, because one, there's traffic; two, you do not know how that road looks, because once it starts raining, there's potholes, there's floods, there's nini. So again, it's just being prepared. Have you planned for your journey? You won't just say, from here to Nakuru is 2 hours, so I will just leave. Just plan for your journey, because you don't know, if it's raining, you don't know how that road looks. So it's just sensitizing them on that.
And during that period, various road users have a role to play. Motorists have their own role to play. I don't know if you've met this clip that was circulating online, where a motorist sees, this road is impassable, but still wants to go through it, and eventually doesn't get to where he's going. He falls, well, at least he could swim, and then his motorcycle sinks. So every user on that road has a role to play, whether you're the pedestrian, you're the motorist, you're the driver, you're the cyclist. So how do you approach this in ensuring that, you play your role? If you're seeing this road is impassable, why go through it?
I think that comes down to a lot of sensitization, because not even sensitive. Some things are just common sense, to be honest. If everybody is standing on either side of the bank, why do you think you're so special that you're just going to pass through it? And sometimes, you can educate someone so much, but it's upon them to take. In fact, road safety starts with you. It doesn't start with the community. It starts with you. What are you doing as an individual? If you're a motorbike rider, are you using the right equipment? Do you have your helmet? Are you wearing the proper safety gear? Because again, you can have a crash, but if you have it, we need to mitigate the number of, we need to mitigate the extent of the injuries. So have you got the right safety equipment for the work that you're doing? If you are a pedestrian, there's pedestrian walkways everywhere now. Are you using that? Or do you want to just use the middle of the road to walk? So I think every decision starts with you. It does not start with NTSA, it does not start with B Roadwise. It's just you.
Common sense. Wow, I love that, because the things you meet on this road, and you're sort of thinking, you can see there's flooding here,
Yeah.
but you want to force your way through.
Yes.
What will you gain with it? So
Yes.
I love what you said. It's just basic common sense.
Yes.
If people are standing on the banks,
Yeah.
you're not special.
No, you're
Indeed.
not.
So now we have the long distance drivers, you know, drivers that move from here to Mombasa, move from here to other countries. And they're also part of the road users. In fact, if you look at some of these biggest roads we have in Kenya, like the Mombasa, you know, if you look at
Busia.
the Nakuru-Mombasa highway, all
Yeah.
that, long distance drivers are largely the ones who use that road. You know, I mean, their training, is it different from what you're telling these other drivers who are just moving from Nairobi to you know, perhaps Kawangware, from Nairobi to Donholm? Is their training different?
It's not different at all. Because look at it this way. If you're driving from Nairobi to Busia, you just need to plan your journey. You understand if it is about nutrition, how many stops because they are allowed stops.
Yeah.
They are allowed stops. But how do you plan for that journey? So I will come and tell you, you need to eat and to sleep well. But I will also tell you, please plan your journey. Because if you have 3 or 4 stops, what are you doing between those stops? Are you actually resting? Are you busy on your phone? You know, what are you doing? Are you eating? Have you stopped somewhere you can actually shower?
Yeah.
You know, just take that comfort break. What are you doing with your time when you have stopped? I think that is what makes a big difference.
Yeah.
What are you putting in your body? Are you resting? Are you sleeping? Because again, if you do not take the resting and the eating seriously, it affects your decisions on the road. It affects your decision times. It affects everything that you do on that journey. Yes.
All right, now I'd love to take you back a bit. We had an incident some time ago along the Machakos, Mombasa Road as you head to Machakos, where one of the passengers had carried cooking gas inside a matatu.
Okay.
And it sort of blew up.
Yes.
But luckily no one was injured.
Yes.
So, you know, there are things we are not allowed to carry in our vehicles because
Yes.
we are endangering our lives and the lives of those around us.
Yes.
So apart from, you know, this was just like one isolated case, but it was such an eye-opener because we see people just shifting and moving, and you'd see someone getting a matatu na kona gas. So, you know, what are these things that we need to just stop carrying in vehicles?
I think that goes back to the safety course that we are doing. Because if you stop and think, what is safety? Is it my safety? Is it your safety? You know, so if you're carrying things like that, LPG gas, si ndio hiyo mtungi ya gas. And if you look at companies that actually transport gas, they have so much safety measures because they know and sometimes I think our ignorance also saves us kinda. Because imagine if that gas exploded and maybe it caused even maybe fatalities or things like that. What could have happened? So I think the fact that maybe they didn't know, maybe was still a good thing for them. But then again, if you've been told, observe safety, even that mtungia gas, where has it been kept? So it's on the gangway. It's on the gangway. So how many people are actually having to, and the vehicle is still moving. So sometimes it's just, once you talk to them, I think that's why I'm very focused on the human element. Because what do I do to make myself unsafe? Because if you just think, even if it's just the 6 kg cylinder, that gas can roll. It can easily roll, hit someone on the legs, hurt them. What does that then mean? What is the consequence of that, of having that gas? And maybe you didn't even charge for it. So what is the consequence to the company? So I think it's just a matter of just stopping and thinking and discussing certain things on our roads. Yeah.
All right, so as we almost wrap this conversation, I'll talk about the policies because this is where the buck stops at. You know, what are the policies of a fleet management? What have they put up you know, as much as we'll talk about the NTSA, but it also falls down to, as this circle that is running this, you know, fleet of vehicles on this route, what are the policies we've set up? Who are we working with? Who are the stakeholders we're working with to ensure that as much as we are very popular carrying pedestrians on the road, but safety also comes first.
Yes.
So as an association, what are some of the policies you'd advise fleet management to take up, or policies you'd advise also drivers or pedestrians to just take up? It's a must-have for them on the roads.
Okay. Even before I answer that, I'm sure SACCOs have got their own in-house policies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if they don't have, I'm sure they've adapted them maybe from NTSA. But the question is, are they being followed? Are they being, is it just a paper that has been, are they actually doing what they are saying on their policies? So I think we need to go back, start from there. What do we have? Are we following these rules? Yeah? Instead of adding more rules, and the ones that we already have, they're not being followed. They're not, even people don't even know about them. Zimeandikwa tu and kept in a shelf somewhere. So until you possibly make a mistake, that's when you realize, oh, kumbe we have a certain rule, and this is what it says. And you'll find it's actually punitive. So I think before we even move to other policies, other procedures, let us first do what we have, reduce the impunity, because I think that is what takes people away from actually the goodness of being safe on our roads. But to also answer your question, I think safety should be paramount. It should be at the top. It should be at the top. Safety of our drivers, safety of our conductors. Like now, when you look back years ago, we had seats for the touts.
Yeah.
Where did that go?
Yeah.
We had smart uniform. They have very good, the ones who are actually put on their uniform well. You know, that comes down to safety. If you look at, like now you enter some matatus, you'll find they're overcarrying. Yeah, we have excess passengers. You look at the school children, the tiny children, they are cramped into one chair because, they can fit there 4 or 5 of them because they are so tiny. Again, I think safety as we move forward is king. Again, wellness. What are we talking about? Wellness. How is this guy eating? Because it's not about how much money you are spending on food. It is the quality of the food. And if you find food is too expensive to eat in your hotels, just go to Mama Mboga. Nikatakatia mboga, you go make ugali at home. You carry that in your container. You eat that. That is sufficient food for you. So again, exercise, how much, and it goes back to the hours I told you. If someone is driving for 14 hours, they still have 10 hours left in their day, because a day is 24 hours. What are they doing in these 24 hours? Or what are they doing in their break? So again, I think for me, safety should be readdressed and relooked at. And not from a punitive angle, but from an empowerment kind of angle. Yes.
All right. So Beatrice, I'd love us to wrap up this conversation. So, you get to just close on, Be Roadwise Association of Kenya, you're looking to impact, and train drivers and the management. So, what more would you want, the association to do? What are you looking for as your vision, perhaps in the next few months? What do you say you'd have achieved at least to ensure that you've played your part in road safety in Kenya?
I think for me, my ultimate would be the transformation of attitudes and behaviors, because you will find attitude drives road safety, behavior drives road safety. So if we can slowly move towards transitioning that, so that we find the next generation of our PSV drivers, the next generation of drivers is better than what we have today, I think I will have achieved what I set out to do.
Yeah, especially with the electric, vehicles that are coming in. Those are the vehicles that do not need indiscipline on the road.
Yes.
Because, it's a unique kind of car, it is more easier perhaps to drive than the other one. So it just needs its own discipline for drivers and matatu touts. So thank you so much, Beatrice Kariuki, the founder of B Roadwise Association of Kenya, for coming in to speak on road safety. I'll just highlight what she said. Safety begins with you. It doesn't have to be NTSA to come and tell you, what you're doing is wrong. It's just you, your common sense as well. Why carry an LPG gas in a matatu? Why go to a matatu and smoke and the other guys are not smokers? So it's basics. It just goes back to basics. So thank you so much for watching. We hope that you've learned so much on road traffic safety, especially now that we have the rains that are coming in very soon. You're a driver. You don't necessarily have to be, a matatu driver, but you're also a personal vehicle driver. So what role are you playing in also ensuring that you are keeping everyone around you safe on the road? Thank you so much for keeping us company and for watching. This is Morning Live. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. I'd love to wish you a fantastic day. Coming up at the top of the hour is the Leadership Show. You definitely do not want to miss that. Some key conversations on aviation that you definitely want to tune in for. Have a good morning. Do enjoy the rest of your programming. Thank you so much.
Thank you.